Okay, I wanted to show you guys how we do Tristan's feedings during the day. Anyway, there's Tristan over here. Can you say hi?
Hi.
Hi. That's normally where he likes to hang out during his feedings. He just kind of hangs out on the couch and watches cartoons. Or sometimes we do his backpack. There's little Miss. Anyway, we use the Zevex Infinity Pump, or I guess it's also Moog now. Not so impressed with them, however. Anyway, we have our bag here. I just fill it up. I don't measure it out. I just fill it all the way up, make sure there's no air bubbles in there, and then I put it in the fridge in between feedings. We have a little hook that's one of those 3M hooks that don't cause damage to your wall. Anyway, that has been there basically since Tristan was born, so for 3 years now. So I can just hang his bag right from there on the wall. So we're going to come down here to the pump. We're going to open up the door. Sorry if the video is a little bit crazy for me doing this one-handed. Anyway, we have the cassette here. I'm going to take it and wrap it around. Just this little round spot right there. There's only one way for this cassette to go in the pump, so don't worry that you're putting it in there wrong. If it doesn't go in, then it's, you know, not that way. Anyway, the cassette just pops right down in there. We're going to go ahead and close the door, make sure that's closed all the way or the pump won't work. I'm going to turn this on. Justin, come here.
What?
Come here. Okay, I'm going to set this down. I have Tristan's extension right here ready to go. This has a med port cover on it. I sell these at www.hyenacart.com/tubalicious.tushies. You can also find me on Facebook as Tubalicious Tushies as well. I do updates there all the time and post pictures of what I'm going to stock and stuff like that in the store. Anyway, so here is Tristan's extension. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. This is the Christmas tree adapter on the end of the tube. We're going to go ahead and push that in. You want to make sure it's pushed in there nice and tight so it doesn't pop right back out again. If you have problems with this popping open, there's the AMT clamp, which works with AMT or the Make Key or pretty much any type of extension or tubing that you have. If you have a peg tube, it should work with that as well. If I had thought about it, I would have gone and grabbed ours. But it wraps around this end and then stretches to wrap around underneath the med port over here, and it keeps the two connected. So if you have problems with it popping open, especially we had that a lot with NG tubes, where they would, you know, just like pop out in the middle of the night and feed everything else. That can really help with that. My med port cover keeps that med port closed so you don't feed the couch or the bed or the car seat or the floor and everything else. So there's that. So basically it's all ready to go. Now we're going to hook it up to Tristan. Come here, Boo. He's hiding. Can I get your button, please?
No.
Yes. Come on. So helpful. Tristan? Tristan.
What?
As you can see, we fed the couch here yesterday. So I need to take the couch apart. Tristan, come out right now. 1. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to go, there's Tristan's button. We use cloth G2 pads. This is one that I made, which is Christmas Ooga Booga. But those seem to help a lot with granulation tissue.
Ooga Booga Button Buddy.
What'd you say?
I want to see a Booga Booga Button Buddy.
An Ooga Booga Button Buddy?
Dad,
Nope,
I want to tell them.
Well, tell them. It's so helpful today. You got crazy here today. Okay, let me hook up. Sit. Can you sit, please? Thank you. Okay. Now you'll see. Now we're about due to replace this button. It's been here for a little while, but there. Tristan, sit up, please.
Like, I will do it.
Tristan.
Like, I want it.
He's so helpful these days. 3-year-old. Stop right now.
Stop.
Look at me. Stop. I need to hook up your tubie.
I want to hook up my tubie.
Yeah, he thinks he can do it. Sometimes he can. Hang on. Let me turn it around. Sorry, it's kind of blurry for me moving. There is a little black mark on the end of the tube, and there's a little black mark right here on his button, too. You're going to line up those black marks, and you're going to push it in. Okay, there we go. Now it's pushed in. And Tristan took it out. Good job, baby. Here, let Mama help. Okay. Let's try this again. We're going to line up those two. Make sure it's all the way in there, and then you're going to turn it 1/4 of a turn, and that's as far as it can go. It can't go any farther. Okay, and we're going to come down here. This is one that we would forget a lot in the beginning, and we still do it every once in a while too. Unclamp it. Really helps for things to flow if you actually unclamp the tube first. So we're going to come back over here to the pump. You may have heard it beeping earlier. That's because it starts beeping if nothing's been done after 2 minutes. I'm going to adjust his dosage rate here. For daytime right now, we're doing 8 ounces, which is 240 mils. And since we switched to the blenderized diet, he can now handle this at full rate. We probably could syringe feed him now. I just prefer to do it by the pump. It just seems to be easier on him if we do it on the pump. Anyway, so we set it at 600 mils an hour. That's as fast as the Infinity pump goes. And 8 ounces, which is also 240 mils. I checked to make sure this is clear. See how that's at 39 mils, and I have no idea why it's at 39 mils right now. Make sure that is clear. If that is partway through a feeding, and it has a number there, and you don't realize it, and you start your next feeding, it is going to start from that number. So they'll be shorted their feed if you don't check that first. So I make sure that's clear. If you press the same button again, this is the volume total button. If you press that again, that'll give you you know, what the total has been, all of the feeds together since the last time you cleared that. So that's for us from yesterday. That is what he gets essentially in 24 hours. If you come up here, this feed interval button, I have that set up for nighttime. This is set up to go off every 3 hours. Tristan does not handle continuous feeds very well. His reflux goes crazy. It wakes him up all night long. So I run for his nighttime feeds, I run him over an hour every 3 hours. So it'll run for an hour, and then it'll pause for 2 hours, and then it'll start again and run for an hour, and then it'll pause for 2 hours. This was an awesome tool for us. Really helps us from having to get up in the middle of the night to feed him over and over, even though he was sleeping. We just take his bag and we put it in his backpack with an ice pack, and that will keep it nice and cool all night long. If your feedings exceed 500 mils, or, well, the bag can really hold more like 600 to 700 mils. But if your feedings exceed that overnight, you can get 1,200 mil bags, which should be able to handle most people all night long. Same thing, just put it in the backpack with an ice pack, and that'll keep it all night long. So anyway, this is all ready to go. I just leave the feed interval on there. I don't turn it off during the day, even though we don't do feedings every 3 hours during the day. That's all ready to go. If you need to, when you first hook up the bag in the morning, you'll fill up your bag if your tube's not primed, if you're not hand priming. There's another video on feeding tube awareness that shows you hand priming, which is awesome. If you have formula, it goes so much faster than priming with the pump. With a blenderized diet, it still seems to go better for us if we prime with the pump. But anyway, you would just hook it up just like this without it being attached to your child over here. And then you would just push the prime button until the food went all the way through. It'll beep at you, and you have to hold it, and it'll tell you to stop, to let go. But that just runs the food through manually. But we're all ready to go through it for his feeding. So I am just going to push this button right here. This is the run pause button. And I'm going to let that go. Because we do a blenderized diet, the food kind of seems to thicken up when it's sitting in the fridge in between his feedings. So normally when I first hook him up, I will go ahead and hit prime for a couple of seconds first, just to kind of get things moving again. Otherwise it seems to alarm no food in almost as soon as we start his feeding. That's normally the first thing that I do if we get alarms. If it says no food in or no food out, I normally hit prime for a couple of seconds. And I will check Tristan. Okay, we'll get you some in just a second. I also check Tristan, the tube down here, to make sure he's not like laying on it and it's, pinched off or something like that. Those are normally the two biggest things. A lot of times you'll get air bubbles, little air bubbles in the tube. Once that gets in there, there's a little light that shines through the tube as it's running. If it spots an air bubble, it's going to error out on you and tell you there's no food or no flow in. Just hit prime for a couple of seconds if you know there's a little air bubble in there. That'll run the air bubble through the tubing and then start it up again, and normally that'll work. Sometimes it gets clogged up right here where the food comes in to the bag. The easiest thing I found to get rid of that is just to rub on the very back of the port like where it's the food's going in, and that'll tend to break up any little clogs that get stuck right there. Same thing, hit the prime button again, make sure everything's running okay, and then start it back up. If you're still having problems after all of that, at that point you may want to either rinse out the bag, totally flush it all with water, and try again, or do a whole new bag. Generally, we only keep having problems if there's a hole in the bag somewhere that just, it tends to freak out. Or we've had like this whole bottom part, that is our biggest issue since they've switched to Moog. This whole bottom part comes off and we feed, like totally fill up his backpack, which is so nasty with everything. Let's see, what else? Oh, yeah, if you're doing a blenderized diet, you need to watch Laura's video. There is, on the inside of the cassette, there's a little knob that's in there that you can break off if you do a blenderized diet or a really thick blend. If you break, we break that off every single morning, which essentially turns this from a pump bag like this to just a gravity bag, where you could just hang it up on the wall and it'll just feed. And little Miss is helping. She likes to steal Brother's Tubi all the time. But that has been awesome for us, or if you're doing a blenderized diet, to remove that. That will seriously cut back on any alarms that you're having. That's pretty much everything that I can think of at the moment. If you guys have any questions about anything, yeah, when this is done, it'll say dose done, and then we just turn it off. And, you know, I put the bag in the fridge for the next feeding, and this just kind of hangs out. And I flush out his tube, too, to keep it all nice and clean. But you can put that in the fridge, too. Anyway. I know. I will help in just a second. Anyway, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave me a message, or you can contact me at twodelicioustushies2. My email for that is twobetushies@gmail.com. So, you know, feel free to leave me a message and ask any questions that you guys can think of. Thanks, guys.